Welcome to Pause for the Truth, where you can sit back, relax, and hear an honest dialogue about health, wealth, legal, and social issues. The hosts are Dr. Rogers Kane, family practice physician, and Jocelyn Turner, health education consultant, with co hosts from the Northeast Florida Medical Society and its foundation. Stay tuned for the truth about matters affecting you and your family. We're here to tell you what's really going on and why.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Rogers Kane, and my co-host is soon to join us. You know, she's the one that's most verbose in terms of her statement, as we all know. But she'll be joining us soon. Where with what we wanted to do this evening is much of what we did last week, and that is bring some of the candidates that are running for public office to our forum, our podcast forum, and give them an opportunity to express themselves, things that they would like to do, they like to see accomplished, what they may do when they get in office, and so on and so on. Um, Before I go any further, I wanted to make sure people do understand that we are we're about to hit another heat wave. So I want everybody to go out there and look after their neighbor, their parents and grandparents, anyone that they can help to help them avoid the health hazards of what we're running into with this horrendous heat wave that we're experiencing. Climate change is a whole nother subject matter, and as you know, we've talked about it on this show, and we will talk about it again because it is not going anywhere. But that's not what we're looking at this evening, other than I just wanted to be sure that our listeners get an opportunity to at least know some of the people that are running for some of the public office. And with us, I'm going to let each person introduce themselves. Each person introduce themselves and state what they're doing, what they're running. We're going to start. We always start with ladies first, and so Miss Shelton, Miss Latoya William Shelton, we'll let you get started, and then we'll rotate around.
All righty. Well, good evening. Again, as Dr. Kane said, my name is Latoya Williams Shelton, and I am a candidate for Duval County Judge in Group 1.
Okay, good. And neither one of the next two are strangers to the show. Miss LaShonda Holloway, LJ as we call her. We have her on again this evening. We had Miss Holloway on a couple of years back. I think it was a couple of years, give or take, a couple of years back. And Miss Holloway, can you introduce yourself and what you're looking to do?
Sure, thank you. I'd like to say good evening to all of your viewers. My name is LaShonda L.J. Holloway, and I am the candidate to represent the people of the 4th Congressional District in the United States House of Representatives. That encompasses all of Clay County, all of Nassau County, and parts of Duval County, everything north and west of the St. Johns River.
Very good. And lastly, but not least, he's also not unfamiliar with the show. We've had Mr. Holiday on before. So, Mr. Holiday, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Greetings, everyone. My name is Octavius Holiday, Octavius A. Holiday Jr. I'm running for Duval County Court Judge Group 13. And I'll mention that that's separate from Ms. William Shelton. She's running for Group 1. And also, our two races will be on everyone's ballot in Jacksonville. So everyone is going to vote for their Duval County Court Judge positions.
Okay, very good. Now, I see that they sneaked in while I was having you guys introduce yourself. Miss Turner?
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
So far, so good at the end of this lovely day.
Right. So, yeah, it's been rather difficult. Well, I had a difficult time at work, but that's neither here nor there compared to in contrast to what we're talking about this evening, which is very specific to these voters that need to be aware of what's going on in Duval County, especially as the political environment heats up, in which we all can agree with that one. So, Ms. Turner, you want to take it away?
It looks like Miss Holloway says that she cannot hear. Can you do a thumbs up if you can hear us, LJ?
Apparently not.
She can't hear us, so we'll get our behind the scenes guy who he was on screen and then he went behind the scenes. So hopefully he will help take care of her.
I'll give him a call and have him check with Miss Holloway.
And so I'm going to start with, and good evening, Miss Shelton. You're the only one I don't know on the screen.
Good evening, Ms. Turner. How are you?
I'm doing good. I think you actually came to my church where I met you. Was it you and your daughter dressed alike?
Oh, yes. Okay. That was just this past Sunday. Yes, ma'am.
So anyway, I want to start with you, Ms. Shelton. What experiences, skills, and leadership qualities have prepared you to serve in the role of that you are vying for here in Duval County?
Okay. So first off, I will start with experience. I've been in private practice here in Jacksonville, Duval County for almost 16 years. 2026 will be 16 years. While in private practice, I've become well-versed in several different areas of law, not just one. I've done some criminal law, I've done some family law, personal injury, guardianship, and I also do some landlord-tenant work. Most of that landlord-tenant work is specifically with Jacksonville Area Legal Aid, which I think kind of goes into the line of your question as it relates to leadership. I have served on the Jacksonville Area Legal Aid Board for the past 8 years. I'm also a past chair of that board. And within my board leadership, I also provide pro bono service to legal aid in the form of eviction defense. In addition to that, I'm the past president of the D.W. Perkins Bar Association. While being there, I started a mentorship program. We'll get into that. But I have also served on one of the local grievance committees. We have 4 different grievance committees in Duval County because we're so huge. We have a lot of attorneys. We have 4 different ones. I'm the past chair of one of the local grievance committees and several other leadership capacities. Honestly, the 3 main things that are important to me are leadership, community, and mentorship.
Thank you. That's pretty awesome. I'm always amazed. Dr. Kane and I were saying this last week. We're amazed that sometimes we don't hear about people until they run, but then when they start
Jocelyn, I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
Okay, yeah, we're getting Tyrone to try to work it out for you. Put your contact information. I'll write it. I have to write it in the
Jocelyn,
Tyrone, if you could put something in the chat so that
I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
Tyrone, if you could put something in the chat to help her, please. So, Octavius, I'm not going to be formal and call you Mr. Holiday since I know you.
I came Mr. Holiday tonight. How you doing, John?
No, Mr. Holiday Jr. Can you also do the same? Can you answer the same question? What experience, skills, and leadership qualities have prepared you for the role that you're vying for here in Duval County?
My experience is pretty extensive. It's primarily in criminal law, though. I did 9 years under Mr. Shortstein and Ms. Corey with the state attorney's office. And then a blessing in my career actually is to leave Ms. Corey's office and do 5 years on my own with the Holiday Law Firm. And in that, I did a lot of criminal defense, but also did some civil work, some personal injury stuff, a lot of pro bono just with, I hate to say my frat brothers, but that's my foray into family law and some civil stuff. Did it mostly on the strength of what we call the Shield, helping out my fraternity brothers. And then I came back to the state attorney's office at the request of Ms. Nelson and been working for her for 9 years and advanced to the level of director of the Human Rights Division and also director of the Community Crime Strategies Unit. That's a lot of words to say that I prosecute mainly elder abuse, exploitation, neglect, and abuse, and also hate crimes, human trafficking, that kind of thing. At one point was doing animal abuse as well. And then the Community Crime Strategies Unit is a unit where Mrs. Nelson's focus is, let's not be an entity or organization that just focuses on putting people in jail. We want to create bonds, connection to the community, be as transparent as possible. So that was something that was already in my wheelhouse that I was doing on my own, but she tasked me with that as well to represent the state attorney's office. So I have combined efforts with the Urban League, Youth Crime Reduction Initiative, also Vision Keepers over at EWU, Sheriff Watch meetings. So I'm all over Jacksonville all the time, representing the state attorney's office. In terms of leadership, I did win the state attorney's office leadership award back in 2020. But also, like Latoya Williams Shelton, I am a previous Perkins Bar president. I'm also the boss list, which means president of the oldest Omega Psi Phi chapter in the state of Florida, which is State of Phi chapter. I'm with also with Jacksonville Journey Forward. That's short leadership. I was appointed to that position by the city council. And ultimately, I stay engaged. My joy really is giving back to Jacksonville as much as I can. And you know that, Jocelyn, from things we do together. That's how we met, basically, with Urban League work primarily. But it's just about giving to Jacksonville. So I'm really just trying to continue that effort on a higher level as far as reaching the bench.
You know, for both of you, while we work out LJ's technical, the sound, for both of you to already have been doing some things and considering your professional careers, I'm amazed that you now want to embark on yet another extension, because both of you have families. And so it's always interesting to me how people decide that is just seemingly the next step for them. I imagine in the work, again, for both of you, until we bring LJ online, I imagine that from your experience, you have witnessed so much that you feel, you know what, this side of the shenanigans have been something else. I need to be on the end to make some different decisions. But let's talk about your priorities. What are top 3 issues you believe are most important to the people you hope to represent? And Ms. Shelton, I'll start again with you.
Honestly, I would say one, listening and being heard. I think that sometimes when people come before the court, they feel as if they have not had the opportunity to be heard prior to a decision being made. Number 2 is going to be efficiency in the courtroom and with cases and getting cases disposed of and moving cases through. Number 3, what else? I know those are top 2 priorities: being heard, efficiency, and treating everyone with dignity and respect. That's the other thing. Sometimes you see or you can feel the biases prior to. And of course, in the role that a judge should play, we should be unbiased. We should be treating everyone with dignity and respect. We should allow them to be heard. We need to be listening to the facts of the case that are being presented before us so that ultimately we can make the proper decision.
Yeah, it was funny when you were saying number 1, number 2, let's see, what's number 3? I wanted to say repeat number 1 and 2.
Okay, correct. Because those are honestly, those are the ones that are ultimately at the highest level. And number 3 is, for sure, people being treated with respect, regardless of, regardless of race, creed, color, whatever it is. When they come before the court, everyone should be treated the same and receive that same level of respect that everybody else does.
Thank you. And Octavius, I'm going to ask you that question, but I'm just dying. I'm going to go ahead and tell you both the next question after this, because what you were saying is just so true. But Octavius, I want you to answer the question. But my next question after that is, when people oftentimes, and I'm guilty, when we've had elections before and I saw judge, I was like, oh, this sounds like somebody I know. Oh, this sounds like somebody I used to know. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy that we have this forum to be able to put you out there, to let people know when they see these names, these are the people who you are voting for and who you have the option of choosing. So, Octavius, what are top 3 issues you believe are most important to the people you hope to represent?
Okay. In no particular order, I would say that 1, treating everyone fairly, that they can be heard. I think that's an extension of how I practice right now as a director. When I came back to the state attorney's office, one of my priorities. And one of my demands really with Melissa Nelson was I needed signing authority. People don't really understand that in the state attorney's office, but a lot of line attorneys or lower level attorneys don't have signing authority, where the division chiefs and the directors make all the decisions in terms of how a case is going to be resolved. I do that, and I've done that for the last 9 years. So I didn't come back unless I had some autonomy and some authority to do that. So when I get a case, I'm measuring it with all the mitigation. I'm listening to defense attorneys. I'm being as fair as possible. I think, actually, I know my reputation in Jacksonville is just that. You can talk to defense attorneys that I'm fair and reasonable. And that goes into my second thing. So treating everyone fairly first, but then also my experience is so extensive in terms of the criminal law courtroom, in that I can see a lot of solutions where another judge might see it as just, oh, you know what, we're done trying to rehabilitate, let's just do jail. I've had so much experience with diversion and so much experience with different types of probation sentences, where I can really, I did that as a defense attorney, but also as a prosecutor. Just so much experience in being a solution-minded judge in terms of really solving the problems in the family. A lot of times victims don't want their loved ones thrown away. They want to fix the problem in their house, in their household. And so that kind of experience gives me this ability to be more creative and really be a solution-focused judge. And then on top of that, speaking of experience and what I do already, and as far as mentoring, a county court judge is going to be the first spot where a just out of law school attorney at the state attorney's office and an attorney at the public defender's office is going to start. And you have to have someone in place that is skilled and talented and thoughtful and patient enough to deal with young attorneys. They're not going to be perfect. They're all learning it. There is no shortcut to experience. So I've seen young attorneys. I have mentored dozens of young attorneys at the state attorney's office. I go beyond that by inviting high school students and college students into the state attorney's office. If you've ever seen me in the courthouse, having young people shout at me around the courthouse. And I do that because I know what it was like when I was a young attorney. Not to get too long in that story, but I didn't feel like I had the mentorship when I first started out. I didn't feel like I had someone I can lean on. So I've dedicated a lot of my time. I try to get through my work, do what I can, and then I'm trying to help the next generation. I love when a young person comes to me and is like, I want to be a lawyer. But I tell you what, you email me, I'm going to get you in front of judges. I'm going to get you in front of courtrooms and let you see how it's done to further ignite that spirit of wanting to be an attorney. And I know Latoya's going to get to it, but under her leadership at the Perkins Bar, started the Reigns Future Lawyers and Leaders. I've been with her from the very beginning in that. Sadly, my wife can't be the what do they call this? What do you call it, Latoya? School sponsor or the
school liaison? Teacher liaison.
But we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it going because we've had some fantastic young people at Reigns High School and at Ribault. I was at Ribault before Latoya came up with that idea of let's do Reigns. I was over at Ribault doing
I pulled them. Look, I pulled them. I made them come with me.
Ribault. Right. But it was it's been a labor of love and going out there and mentoring young people. And that relationship, the one I established with some people at Reigns and some people who have just come and shout at me, and law students and high school students, it follows because I've written recommendation letters for these young people. So that's a long way to say patience and skill and some expertise there as far as what you're doing in teaching young attorneys the right way to do it. Because I know attorneys come in, state attorneys come in, and they're like, I'm going to look at everybody. I'm like, hey, slow down, Tiger. That's not how we do things. We need to be smart about how we treat people's lives as far as the criminal prosecution system.
And I like that. I like what you said that, a lot of families, they've never had some professions within their families. And so to have the opportunity to actually see, I remember the first time I met Dr. Kane, he was a resident at the health department, and no shade on other residents who came through, but Dr. Kane just acted like a regular guy. Some of the other residents, they were untouchable, and I'm a doctor. Yeah, okay, but you put on your pants the same way my daddy put on his, right? Is what I always thought. But I found that he was just easygoing, went around talking to everybody, like he was just a regular guy. And people don't understand the importance of that, right?
That is absolutely important. I'll just, if I can go a little further, that down to earth attitude that you're not so high and mighty and whatnot. Right. I think it carries. I've seen that in my office at the state attorney's office. I've seen some directors who don't even speak to the staff, and that person was their secretary some 10, 15 years ago. I don't live my life that way. I think Jacksonville knows, and I'm not just campaigning here. This is who I am. I don't win this campaign, okay? I'll live with that. But I'm talking about how I live my life. I'm not going to be too big and bold that I won't answer your phone call, return an email, and be there for you. I try to be as accessible as I can to as many people as I can in Jacksonville.
And speaking of which, hopefully LaShonda LJ Holloway can hear me now. And
Obviously she can. She got a big smile on her face.
speaking of being all over the place and personable, LJ is all over the place. Everywhere you go, my mama says she ran into LJ. So LJ, thank you for joining us. And I'm so sorry you had some challenges and glad that we got those worked out for you. But I want to give you a chance. I'm gonna back up a second to our other candidates. We'll get back. We'll keep the conversation going. But I want LJ to go ahead and tell our audience what experience, skills, and leadership qualities have prepared you to serve in the role. And while answering that, also answer what are top 3 issues you believe are most important to the people you hope to represent.
Thank you so very much. The skills that I currently have that I believe have prepared me for this role is not only did I work on Capitol Hill for Congresswoman Carrie Meek, who is no longer with us, but the district was in Miami, Florida. However, I worked for her in her Washington, D.C. office. I also have extensive federal experience. I not only worked at the United States Environmental Protection Agency, but I negotiated the largest deal in history at United States Customs. I share that because too many times people don't understand the role of Congress and understand the relationships that would help a particular candidate inside the Beltway. So I shared that to say, not only am I the only person in the race with federal experience, I have depth and breadth of federal experience. I came back home, which Jacksonville is home for me, with a brain tumor in 2008. And as a result, look, I am frustrated by what I have seen, and it has only gotten worse. So I have run a number of times in 3 different configurations. I'm going to say that again, in 3 different configurations for the same seat. We know that this seat is gerrymandered, but what I find all across the 4th Congressional District with most people, the top 3 issues are: 1, affordable housing. That's what you hear. Most young people complain about the fact that they cannot afford to buy a home. Renters, of course, are being priced out of their neighborhoods. And the second issue, of course, is affordable health care. There are too many persons who can no longer afford health care. We know that subsidies have been cut from the Affordable Care Act, but furthermore, on January 1, 2027, we know that Medicare Part D will be cut, and you will find seniors and children unable to afford their prescriptions. Last but certainly not least, I believe that the other issue that should be of concern is voting rights. I am sharing the fact that voting rights is an issue in particular for people who look like me, because we know what happened just this year with Louisiana versus Calais. I traveled along with a number of people for the oral arguments for Louisiana versus Calais, and they have gutted Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And we know that the Voting Rights Act was signed in 1965, and the reason why we had representation in this particular city is because the late Senator Arnett Giraudo happened to draw the maps so that Corrine Brown, Alcee Hastings, and Carrie Meek were able to represent the people in Florida. Much to my chagrin, if we do not elect someone to the United States House of Representatives, there will be no more females in the United States House of Representatives.
Wow, that's a really big deal.
It is.
So
we know Frederica Wilson, of course, in Miami, is no longer running, and Sheila Shirtless McCormick was asked to resign, so she has resigned. And you know that children can't be what they cannot see.
Yeah, and I think about the things I've been hearing a lot in churches lately, that there are more ladies in churches than anybody else, and the need to make sure that females are in leadership roles. But that's another podcast, Dr. Kane. Ms. Shelton, one thing you talked about, and I'd like for you, and you don't have to, your answer doesn't have to be related to this, but tell us about a time when you brought together people with differing opinions to solve a problem. And what did you learn from that experience? And what I was alluding to is when you talked about the mentoring program that you started with D.W. Perkins, you may not want to reference that, but can you think of a time when you brought together people together with differing opinions to solve a problem? And what did you learn from that experience?
That's putting me on the spot. Honestly, with the mentoring program, I don't even know that there was a huge, issue with different opinions about that. All the attorneys and all the judges, even like Mr. Holliday mentioned, already being over at Reebok because this program was already over at Reebok. I would say there was a little bit of a challenge, wanting to get it started. But once we said, hey, we want to start this, trying to get some of the attorneys who had started it over at Reebok, because it's actually kind of sponsored by a local bar association. So Reebok was sponsored by the Jacksonville Bar Association. And when we brought Reigns in, Reigns would have been sponsored by the D.W. Perkins Bar Association. So sometimes, and I like I said, I won't say that any of the attorneys had a huge deal with it. Once we got on board and we talked about how great this could be and how, already the students are already hype about the Northwest Classic anyway, right? So when I brought up the idea, let's do it something like that to where we can have the students to compete in a mock trial at the end of the year, because that's what they do anyway in the program, have them compete in the mock trial at the end of the year, but have it be Reigns versus Reebok, because it just makes it so much more of an exciting experience for the kids. And I think Octavius will agree, and a lot of the judges and the attorneys that come and be a part of it, like, it's more exciting for us, honestly.
And we won last year, Jocelyn. Now they I don't know how they.
She didn't mention that part, huh?
We did.
Judge Davis ruled the way he ruled. That's my hero, my legal hero. But come on now, I was counting too. I can count. And I thought we won.
I did too, but it's so fun. Like I said, it's a really fun experience because they'd already been, the program had already been started at Reebok for some years. So you can imagine everything already being put together, the teacher liaisons in place, the principal, the administration already. So it had been, a bit of a challenge just kind of bringing everybody together and getting it rolling. But we have some amazing people that are part of that program. He just mentioned Judge Davis helped us out. Christine Michelle, and a local attorney, kind of became the heart of Reigns. So it has been challenging. I can't say that it has not been challenging going through the years, but it's been great and it's been a great experience. And I just think, and that may not even be, I don't even know that that's an example. I don't know that I came to an example, but I've always been a person that believes, and I think I'm that person for my family, I'm that person for my friends, I'm that person for everybody. I always believe that we can come up with some sort of common ground. So there's always a workable solution for a problem. And we may not agree, our opinions may not agree, but we're going to always be respectful of each other.
Yeah. And Octavius, you mentioned that you are involved in so many different organizations. Being at the state attorney's office, you mentioned your experience, and if not on this show, I know on past shows about elder situations and then diversion. How do you deal with the issues that people have and maintain? I mean, first of all, people can be comical, the things they say, but you have to be serious in helping people to deal with the issues. Now, being on this other side, the election happens, you win. What's going to be different for you being judge in that respect versus being on the side that you've been on these past few years?
That's an awesome question. What happens if I send the judge or when I send the judge is that I'm now a referee though. So even though I can kind of try to get the parties to get to a certain place, I can't really legislate from the bench. I can't tell them what to do in the state. I've said this for years. Kind of going a little bit left here. When I was recruiting, I go down to University of Florida, FAMU, go to Florida State and try to recruit. I'm telling young black folks who's like, I don't want to work for the man. I'm telling you, the most powerful person in the courtroom is the state attorney's office. So that person has a lot of discretion. So on the bench, I'm calling balls and strikes, making sure everybody's done, everything's done fairly. If the the defense attorney doesn't like the way the state is offering what they're offering or whatever, they are always free to plead the case up to the judge, and then I get to decide on what's fair and equitable and what's a good solution for the case. But that's, I think, on the state side, when as a prosecutor, I'll hold a lot of the chips, and I see a situation where I'll just say, for example, I had a guy get out of prison, and then 6 months later, he stabbed an elderly guy who was just eating an apple in the car, just having a little break, stabbed him in the neck with a screwdriver and tried to kill him. That guy has to be separated from society. I think everyone would agree with that. And then I've had numerous cases, where you have an elderly grandparent and they have something happens to the parents and they're taking care of a 20-year-old who might have a drug problem or a mental health problem. I have a lot of power and control to say, you know what, let me do some programs. Let me try to get this person right. Let me get this family back together. I'm not going to have that same kind of decision-making authority on the bench, but I do have to police the state and make sure they're doing things the legal way, the ethical way, and call balls and strikes. So it's a shift, but I believe if I mentor them right, the young people, I think we'll get to some very good solutions and good dispositions.
So, Mr. Holiday and Ms. Shelton, you more or less telling me the judge functions more of an equalizer when it comes down to what happens between the state attorney and, of course, the defense attorney in terms of representing. Yeah,
and on the criminal side, well, both sides, and civil too. You can't root for one side or another. No, we have to be fair and impartial. That is our charge. So, in that sense, I may want things. Personally, I'm like, oh man, this guy right here maybe deserves a second chance. But if they're negotiating and the defendant decides to plea, my job is to see whether that sentence is a legal sentence. Does it fit within guidelines, within what is a proper legal sentence? And I have to let it go. I can't interject myself and say, no, state, don't do that. That's not our job. Our job is to call balls and strikes, make sure that everyone's treated fairly, they're being heard, nothing's rushed. I think Latoya agree with that. You go to first appearance, some judges are notorious for getting through first appearance. They start at 9 o'clock, they're done by 10:15. And I'm like, well, I don't know how you clear 80 cases in an hour and 15 minutes. And then some judges go over all the time. Some judges that we know well on this panel go over a little bit and sometimes get criticized for that. But I respect their ability to take their time and make sure every litigant is being heard.
That sounds like my practice. Sounds like my practice. It seems like I'm in the office a lot longer than a lot of other physicians, and not as many patients, but I make sure they get their attention. They get
absolutely. And the community feels that, right? They feel that. Right. They're like, you know what, Dr. Kane cares, and it takes longer when you care. And I guess the adverse of that is it doesn't take as long if you are just, making quick decisions and maybe not getting all the information.
Yeah, what I like about all three of you is that you're out in the community. LJ, hold on to your socks because I'm getting ready to bring something up. I hope you can handle it. And we don't have to talk about it long. We'll have you on later. We'll let you stay a little later at the end, but I would like you to address the low-hanging fruit on it because, as I mentioned, all of you are out in the community. I've seen some of you, two of you, because I've known you for longer and just met Ms. Shelton. But LJ, for whatever reason, people have varying opinions about why you're running again. They don't seem to take. I don't know if they don't take you seriously or what. But what I have liked about, and I did, Ms. Shelton, I didn't know you, so I did my homework before the podcast. But what I like about reading about all of you is you have been doing some amazing things to help the community. LJ, how in the world do people get away with putting propaganda out about you? And I'm just trying to figure out, where do they find it? Because I was actually looking for some of the stuff that has been going out about you, and I never saw that or never knew any of that about you. And I know you put out a statement about it, but can you talk about the misconceptions that people have about you and what you really want to do to represent this community?
Well, Jocelyn, let me just say, you may or may not know that in the polls, I am 30 points ahead of my opponents. And I believe that my opponent, who has the most money and who was a Republican before he switched to the Democratic Party, I do believe that in his mind, he thought that he would defeat me. And having spent more than $500,000 I guess he figures by spreading lies and propaganda that would help his standing in the community or help him at the polls. Look, anybody who knows me knows that I'm not a Republican. And certainly, if Donald Trump were backing me, you better know that I would not be working as hard as I am working. If Donald Trump were backing me, I would not only have commercials, but I would do like he does, and I'd be sending text messages every day. And I don't know if I'll be buying preachers and buying former politicians because they are a part of the problem. But the reality is, look, instead of focusing on propaganda, I would much rather talk about the issues. I mean, we have issues in our community from Medicare, healthcare, and childcare that he could be talking about. But because he does not have a platform, all he has is money. He wants to, I mean, it's expensive. The 4th Congressional District encompasses 750,000 voters. So imagine how much money he has spent sending out those propaganda flyers. He also lied and had a flyer that dropped just today of a picture of a gubernatorial candidate, what's his name, James Fishback, who came up to me when we first announced. He came up to me and he said, "Which one is Miss Holloway?" If you look at the viral video that Fishback has, so it's clear he didn't know me and I didn't know him. However, they screenshot the picture from the exchange between Fishback and I, and of course sent it out. And the picture, the flyer with my face and Trump face, of course, is AI generated. But if I don't know Trump, I've never met Trump, and anybody who knows me knows that not only am I bold and speak truth to power, but I have criticized this administration and their policies. So, I don't think that the tactics will work. I think that people know me and people know my work. It's unfortunate, however, that we have people in our community who were formerly elected and people who I have defeated who have endorsed this gentleman and put them on their quick picks, but it's neither here nor there. I'm hoping that the voters will do their research and make their own decisions. And I believe my record speaks for itself. And I would hope that the people will vote LJ Holloway for a better day.
So with that said, and I want the rest of them to answer this question too, but I want as a quick follow-up to that though, LJ, how will the public know whether you've been successful and what specific outcomes will you use to measure your performance?
Well, the way that the public will know that I'm successful is first, Congress not only makes laws, but it controls the purse. It controls the spending. And like I said, previously, I worked for a member who was on the Appropriations Committee. Look, you will know by the dollars that I bring back to this district. We know that this district has been underrepresented and underserved for far too long. One of the persons who has a quick pick was in office for 24 years and was the ranking minority member of transportation, yet we have the raggediest roads this side of the Mason-Dixon. So I think you will tell not only from the legislation that is introduced, but most importantly, from the funds that come back to this district. Everyone in this district pays taxes. So we should see changes in money coming back to this district as a result of my leadership.
Ms. Turner, let me make sure that our audience understands each one of our candidates here are speaking on behalf of themselves. They don't represent each other in terms of what they're saying. Because I just want to keep it fair to everyone on the podcast that they're speaking individually. But Ms. Holloway, I do have one quick question for you. In 2027, the Republican Party has postponed the Medicaid spending cuts until after the election. And then that's when they plan on introducing the $911 billion that they want to cut over 10 years. And these benefits, while Florida didn't take up the Medicaid ACA proposals like other states, it still may affect our state in a significant way. Is there any way you can speak to that?
Sure. That's what I have been saying on the campaign trail. I tell people all the time, in the one big beautiful bill, look, we know that Medicare Part D will be cut effective January 1, 2027. And so it's already law. So it's not like, oh, well, we can stop it. It is law. It just does not go into effect until January 1, 2027. And I'm telling people, look, this time out for pay-to-play politics and these petty games, people will die. This is life and death. Look, when you cut Medicare Part D, people have to make a decision between a meal or a pill. And I just spoke with a woman just today at a senior center who said that, look, they used to pay for 15 hours of care for her a week. And she received a letter stating that they will only pay for 16 hours a month. So imagine folks who may have, who may need wound care, or people who need insulin. During the Biden administration, we were excited about $35 insulin. Of course, there was an executive order that overturned that. And so we will have people who are dying from maladies that they otherwise could live from. And when you start talking about cutting Medicare, you think about nursing homes that rely on the Medicare dollars. And we already know a number of rural hospitals that have closed as a result of the cuts to Medicare. And now you're going to start seeing nursing homes and, of course, independent living facilities closing because Medicare has been cut. And we will
Medicaid.
I'm sorry. Yes, Medicaid, Florida did not accept the expansion. However, Medicare Part D is what is going to be cut the most. And with Medicare Part D, when people can't get their meds, look, they die.
And to our, thank you, LJ, and to our court, our county judges, candidates, when people start being without, they unfortunately start resorting to crime to try to make those ends meet. Some people. So, and I know a lot of people end up in front of a judge some people end up in front of a judge for the first time and just don't even know how to deal with it, right? Mm-hmm. How do you, and I know you can't say without discussing how you would rule any particular case, but what principles guide your commitment to fairness, impartiality, and equal justice under the law when you hear situations like what LJ, candidate for congressional candidate, speak of those things that are not going to be around in the future that people take for granted today, but now all of a sudden you're seeing this influx of different kinds of faces that's showing up in your court.
Right.
I think
I'm
sorry. No, go ahead.
It's fine, go ahead.
I think one of the important things, and I think Mr. Holliday has already hit on this a little bit, is looking at those, you said a lot of times it could possibly be first-time offenders, right? So looking at possible ways to divert. There are diversion programs that could possibly be available for those people. And the other thing too is understanding, although we can't legislate from the bench. We can't tell them what to do. We can't operate as an attorney from the bench, but we can speak in plain language, right? We can speak in plain language to help to ensure that they understand what's going on. I think somebody mentioned that before. Maybe it was Octavius who talked about a lot of times they come in on a first-time offense, and because the judge is going through that case so quickly and saying, hey, you know what, if you plead out today, you can go home today. They don't have a full understanding that after that, they're a felon, and then they can't find a job or they can't do anything else and they can't get themselves back on their feet. So I think one, looking at, and of course we have to look at what's within the law. I can't say I feel sorry for this person, so I want to offer them this, but if it's within the law and I can offer them a different option or a diversionary option, then let's look at that. And then two, let's ensure that we're speaking to people so they understand exactly what's going on and making sure, again, we speak to them in that plain language. And then also take the time to listen, take the time to listen to the facts, and take the time to listen to them.
And I need to stop looking at the TV judges trying to figure out what county
county judges do for real, right?
Oh, absolutely,
Stop that.
absolutely. Those county judges,
Stop
those are very interested, and so we don't know exactly, possibly where we'll end up. But of course, if it's on the civil side, you could be handling things like landlord-tenant issues. You could also be handling small claims court, which is people filing suit for anything up underneath. I believe the threshold has been up to $50,000. And then, of course, if it's on the criminal side, you are talking about misdemeanors, DUIs, and things like that.
Thank you. Octavius?
Well, one, you go to first appearance court, you're armed as a judge, you're armed with a jail jacket. We get to see what they've done just last year, 2 years ago, right? So if you're saying someone is new coming to us, that jail jacket is very light. It's very thin. All it has is this arrest in it. And we know that we can probably extend some grace in the way we treat that case, or even suggesting to the state. You can't tell them what to do, but state, is this something that might qualify for diversion? You're just asking the question to make them think about it, right? But ultimately, if I pick up that jail jacket and it's heavy, I know we have a problem, right? We don't have a recent Medicare problem. We have a problem, right? And so you deal with that differently, and that's what the community expects us to do. They expect us to be fair, and fairness sometimes means we have to mete out punishment to try to deter people from committing crimes. That's just the nature of the business. But if we're staying in this lane right now on this podcast, that somebody's first offender, they're coming through, they've stolen something from the grocery store just to eat, then that's going to be treated with the most grace. I've seen that. I've done that as a prosecutor. I was a very young prosecutor, and I wouldn't change if I being on the bench. I think it's common sense, and if I think a judge, I've seen this done before. If you have a prosecutor that's going just rogue, just going too harsh, then you want to speak to their division chief, speak to their director to see if there's something we don't know about. Maybe they're having a bad month, girlfriend broke up with them. These things have actually happened. I'm not naming names. I'm just saying this actually happened where prosecutors have just gone left and just have been too harsh on litigants. But as a judge, again, you can't tell the state what to do, but you can exert some influence by saying, let's talk to the division chief. Like, what is going on here? I'm seeing these kind of strange dispositions in my courtroom. It doesn't seem like they're well thought out. Can you talk about that? So there you go. Experience comes in there. Go ahead.
One of the things that I actually kind of witnessed myself is the influence being placed on the county prosecutors by more administrative individuals. They want a conviction on something, even or they've kind of handed down. Well, I go ahead and get a case down in Orlando where the prosecutor didn't want to agree with what the governor may have said, and you guys may or may not be able to comment on this, but didn't agree with what the governor says, and of course, because the governor didn't get their way, they were ready to dismiss the prosecutor, and that's what I'm thinking that maybe the judge it has to play a role in terms of putting out fairness to those individuals. So, and I'm not saying you need to have an opinion on anything along that. But
I think you're getting at Monique Worrell's situation down in the 9th, down in Orlando. They have Orange County and Osceola County. And that's a long-standing feud between the governor and her. It has nothing to do with our race and what's in our power, our authority at all. Yes, sir. That's I got my personal opinions on it. We're gonna have to talk about that offline, though.
Right. All I want to make sure is that people recognize that you guys will give your fair and open-minded opinion on cases like that.
Absolutely.
That's the main thing I think the public want to hear from you guys. Just fairness in terms of dealing with those judgment calls.
But I think they were dealing with a felony of some sort, or some kind of death penalty kind of case. The most we're going to ever have to deal with in that situation is everyone who gets arrested in Duval County is entitled to go in front of a judge with a certain period of time to get a bond, have a bond consideration. County court judges, by and large, unless they're being substituted for somebody's in their stead, we're the one that's fair. That's where fairness starts, right? That fairness it will really start on how the police treat you on the streets, true. But ultimately, when you get to court, like Victoria said, some people plea out right there in first appearance just to go home. And you need to be able to slow down a little bit, explain to them, look, we're not getting involved in the case. You can plead guilty if you want to, but I can give you a reasonable bond. You can come back and fight the case. You have to have that kind of mentality instead of just trying to get your docket to be smaller.
So a lot of times when it comes to the political climate, if you will, process,
Right.
many people don't hear about any of the positions that you're running for until it's time for campaign season, right?
Right.
How do you see community, and this is for all of you, how do you see community organizations, nonprofits, healthcare providers, businesses, school, faith-based organizations contributing to solutions for the challenges facing our communities, so that when each of you become judge, your caseload won't be so heavy, right? And when LJ, she won't have to fight so hard in Congress. What are some community partnerships that should be happening to help contribute to solutions facing for the challenges facing our community? LJ, I'm gonna start with you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. I think the onus is on all of us. Of course, we all have a civic duty, and we all are citizens of this country. And I think that, look, not only should professionals and nonprofits work towards solutions in the community, but I think it's imperative, and like I said, the onus is on all of us, but I think it's imperative upon all of those professionals and those organizations to operate within their sphere of influence to help make this country better. We say we, the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union. So we understand that the union is not perfect, but it does require we, the people, and I do believe that we can make this place a better place if we all do our part within our sphere.
Thank you. Ms. Shelton, what about you? How do you see community organizations, those community partnerships contributing to solutions for the challenges facing our community? Because when you get in front of that court, you're going to hear some things. You think you know some things now based on your experience, but you're going to hear some things. So how can the community help?
Honestly, I think as someone who already has been in the community, as somebody who already has been in the community, as someone who is a person of faith, who attends church, who hears from people all the time, who's in private practice, who hears from a lot of people with a lot of things going on, you realize, and I think I have to agree with LJ in that it's on everyone. I don't know that we could say that one or the other nonprofit community partnership. Like I know with JALA, just in Jacksonville Area Legal Aid, sitting and listening in those meetings, I know they're doing all they can as a firm when it comes to providing pro bono legal services and even starting to provide low bono legal services to people. I know that they are doing what they can. And I just think that it just kind of takes everybody doing what they can, working together, and working across those lines again, even if we do disagree on certain things, even if we do disagree on stuff, because again, like you said, in this political climate, it's just, it's the worst. And sometimes we have to cross those party lines and agree to disagree on the political things, but work on the things that we could do for our community to make it a better place for for all of us, honestly, but specifically for the elderly, specifically for these students that we're trying to mentor, to ensure that, they're not those ones that are coming before us and before the courtroom. And that's something that I want to continue to do. And I tell people all the time, I don't plan to get on the bench. If I am able to, and I am blessed with this seat, I don't plan to get on the bench and become this elitist person. I plan to continue to be at William M. Raines High School for the mentorship program, continue to mentor these students, continue to do the things that I can do. Of course, I don't know, unfortunately, that I'll be able to, I'm sure they would extend me for another 2 years because the board is only supposed to be for 6 years, but they keep extending me for legal aid. But I'll continue doing the things that I can do, showing up, speaking to young ladies, speaking to young girls. I want to be able to do those things and allow them to be able to see that, they can be productive members of society.
Thank you. Thank you. Octavius?
The question is, how can nonprofits do more?
Yeah, and I know for instance, you talked about your volunteering with the Urban League and this organization and this organization.
Right.
How do you think community partnerships can contribute to solutions for the challenges facing our communities?
Let me first say that there are studies that we spend thousands and thousands of dollars on as a city to identify which individual, which one young person is most at risk. And so we know the factors. We know that if it's a young male in a single mother household and she didn't graduate high school and he has multiple siblings and one of those siblings went to jail and he's not involved in sports and he's failed 2 grades by the time he's in 8th grade, we know that individual is most likely going to be in front of us at some point on a violent crime. So if you're talking about what nonprofits can do, and I'm passionate about this because I do work with the 100 Black Men for the last 15 some years. This is what I do. Like Latoya, I win this seat. I'm not changing who Octavius is. I'm still going to be doing what I do. And I'm passionate more about young Black men because I think if we solve that problem, we solve a lot of problems. You know, not to say the young ladies don't have some onus in the whole thing, but I really just look at some of the where our young men are going, and I've been passionate about this since I was in high school, actually, down in Central Florida. What can nonprofits do? One, I applaud my frat brother Ronnie King with My Village Project. How just a couple of weeks ago at Reebok, he brought all the community partners together, and one of our takeaways out of that, we have a project going right now. We're trying to make sure nonprofits aren't repeating the same programs. Maybe they're collaborating more. Not some, because a lot of that competition goes for money and dollars, that we compete with one another, and we're trying to get the same goals, but we're just in competition and not really doing the best job trying to be efficient and obtaining those goals. That's one. Two, I look at some of our churches, our large churches. There shouldn't be a church, I don't care, large or small, that the men in that church aren't caring about our young men and our young women. We should have mentoring programs in every single church, and I don't see that, honestly. And I'm not afraid to tell them right there in their face. I don't care. Q or not, Omega or not. We need to have mentors in every single church. And I'll be on my soapbox for a second. And you might have heard me say this before. Some of the people I love the most in this city, people I care about, people I break bread with, they have the like mindset that I have. Jocelyn Turner, right? That we know the work has to be done, right? And the people who I don't like a lot, we can be friendly and cordial, but really it burns me up when they make their dollars and they go live in their big house or whatever, and it's all about therefore and no more. I just hate that mentality. We can't win. We can't make our community better if we have that mentality. Some of the people who have the most resources don't want to share it. Now that'll go a little further with politics. I'm on leadership, not leadership Jacksonville, but in terms of Jack's journey forward, we're fighting for dollars. All Jackson needs to come together and say, you know what, we know we can give a certain amount of dollars for this program over here and that program over there. Some things work. And I just think it just needs more attention and more funding and more individual effort. So I agree with LJ, I agree with Toya, that obviously it's on all of us. But we have some things in place right now already where the machine is there. We just got to have the want to. Instead of coming home on a Friday and let's barbecue, you know what? Be like Octavius. Put that on a t-shirt. Be like Octavius. Go out and volunteer all day Saturday till you're tired and you have a good night's sleep knowing you did something good for Jacksonville.
I know. LJ, let me ask you a question. What gives you hope for the future of our community?
What gives me hope is those who are, I fight for those who are yet unborn, but knowing that there is a generation behind me and a generation behind them, that we should be leaving a better city, a better county, a better country than we found. And so that's what gives me hope. Those who are yet unborn, I want to make sure that they have hope and a future. And so that gives me hope knowing that, one, we have people who are going to be born and come into this country, and they should have a better life than we have.
Thank you. And Ms. Shelton, what is one misconception people have about county court judges, the office you're seeking? Anything comes to mind for you?
I would say one that judges make all of the decisions. And I think Octavius hit on this a little bit when he indicated and talked about the state having a lot of the authority and a lot of the movement in the courtroom. They feel like the judge is the person that makes all of the decisions. And that's not the case. Unless a case is pled directly up to the judge, they make a final decision as far as that's concerned. And then I'm sorry, I'm seeing something. Okay, maybe there's something else that's popping up on the screen. I'm sorry. But I think that's one main misconception about county judges is that, again, like I said, that they make all the decisions, and that's not necessarily the case. When motions and things like that are come before the judge, then of course we have to make those decisions based off of the law. But the crux of the case is really the state, or even in some cases, because we're talking about state and defense, but that's just in criminal court, right? We could be talking about just both sides of the courtroom when it comes to civil court, the defense attorney and also the attorney who's bringing the case. But I think that's one of the main misconceptions.
Octavius, my last question for you is, if viewers remember only one thing from tonight's discussion, what would you want this message to be, and why should they entrust you with this responsibility?
I think if I've gotten quite a few endorsements as far as my campaign, and that comes from different political parties. Got Democrats and Republicans and Independents, and what that really means is that they've had a relationship with me over the years. I've been working hard for Jacksonville, and I know everybody says that. Everybody says that when they're campaigning, but I would like people to do the research and talk to folks and understand that I love this community. I wanted to move here since I was 17 years old, running track, and we came up to Bob Hayes and ran track, and I won the Bob Hayes in 800. I know I don't like a half mile right now, but I won the half mile, and I told my mom I'm moving to Jacksonville. She said, "You crazy?" I felt like my future belonged here, and I graduated law school. I had my choice of going to different cities, and I wanted to come here. Black history in the state of Florida, if you just take away Zero Nail, Herson, and Edenville, by all accounts, all the major activities happen in Northeast Florida. Add St. Augustine in that next year, but Jacksonville is where it's at. So I've always wanted to live here, and ever since my baby girl, I got 2 sets of twins. And when my baby girls are old enough to sit quiet in the back, I've been working. And not to put my other candidates down, I know they love Jacksonville too, and they do work, but I don't think they're either they can get in front of you and say they've woken up on a Saturday and done 5 events in that same day, right? I'm talking about wearing my 100 Black Man shirt, my state attorney shirt, my Omega shirt. I got them on the card. I'm switching out because I just will not get tired doing what we have to get done. We're trying. I just want this community to be better. I know we can. We have that possibility. So that passion, that love for Jacksonville, in my experience in the criminal justice system and in the civil side too, just being fair, I believe that's what's needed. And I'll add one more thing, Jocelyn, that we talked about diversity. I think LJ talked about there being no more, LJ, you can help me out, no more Black females in Congress in Florida. Okay, she's muted, but I think she's nodding saying yes.
You're muted. Unmute yourself.
If you don't win, there's no more Black females in Congress in Florida.
You remuted yourself. There you go.
That is correct. Okay. Well,
yes,
we got
no Black females in the United States House of Representatives. If Angie wins, then we will have one in the Senate.
But in the Senate, right.
Yes. So the Congress is the House and the Senate.
Right, exactly right. So we're looking at a diversity issue here in Jacksonville too when it comes to judges. If you didn't know that when Judge Floyd decided to retire, and that started getting around the Jacksonville bar, Mount Perkins bar meeting and all that, I was like, Judge Floyd's retiring. How many Black male judges do we have? Oh, 1. We got Judge Lester Bass up in Nassau County in Circuit Court.
Oh, in Nassau County. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he's a Circuit Court judge, so he could be in any of the counties. But we got 1 Black male judge. And I'm like, that's crazy because we got about 55% of our defendants coming through the criminal court system being Black males. That's what's going on right now. And so I thought, you know what? I heard some whispers of other people wanting to run, but I was like, you know what? If it's not me, who's gonna do it? Right. And then if it's not now, when? So I stepped up to do that. Other people jumped in the race. One of them jumped in last minute, 2 days left before qualifying. She jumps in. Okay, that's her right to do it. But I'm talking about 1 Black male judge, and he's up in Nassau County. None on the county bench in Duval out of 17 judges, none. And that's embarrassing. So I'm saying I'm the most qualified. I'm saying I have the most passion for Jacksonville, and I'm saying I represent Black males too in an experience. I went to Duke University undergrad, but I wasn't raised with no silver spoon. I'm down in we call Black Altamont down in Central Florida, with an immigrant father and my mother who worked in a nursing home, and we made ends meet somehow or another. But ultimately, I came from a whole lot of nothing but good, loving parents and a good church. and that put me where I need to get to. So all that to say, I think I'm the most qualified candidate, and I'm not going to forget to love on Jacksonville once I get elected.
Octavius, and I'm gonna ask LJ and Ms. Shelton that same question, but Octavius, how do people learn more about you and contribute to your campaign if they want to? Can you say that?
Well, I can't directly ask for it, but if you can go to my website, there's donations and stuff like that. But I'll say that we can't take any donations for this cycle. LJ, help me out, Victoria. I think it's the 13th.
Well, just tell us your website. Just tell us your website.
The website. That's the most proper way to do it. Vote
to learn more about you.
VoteHolidayForJudge.com. So it's vote, common spelling. Holiday has 2 L's. So Christmas holiday with 1 L. So Vote Holiday for, spelled out, FOR, Judge.com. You'll learn all about me, and who I am, and my 7 kids and wife, and all that you want to know about me is online. And I'm not even sure if I realized that was going to be the case when I started running, that I'm just an open book. But no, you'll learn all about me.
Thank you. And Ms. Shelton, if viewers remember only one thing from tonight's discussion, what would you want that message to be, and why should they entrust you with this responsibility? And also mention your website.
All right. So what I have been, one is that I lead with integrity. I always have. I have a love for people. I have a love for community. I have a love for leadership and mentorship. And that is the one and only reason why I'm running and I'm moving forward. And I took this leap of faith as far as this is concerned. This is literally my next step in community service. And whether or not it happens or not, whether it's not the time or not, I will continue to be the person that I have been in this community. So I want people to remember that I am prepared with over a decade and a half of legal experience, that I am principled, and that I'm also trusted. And I will treat everyone that comes in front of me with dignity and respect. And of course, you can find more about me at www.lwsheltonforjudge.com. And I'm also on Facebook and also Instagram. Of course, being out with the people, meeting people, talking to people, because one thing that you guys talked about, I think you hit on it earlier, is that we don't find out about people until it's campaign time. So we haven't seen you in the community, and now all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of commercials. But I've been out here, I've been speaking to the community because I want people to know that I am here for the community and that I am just a public and community servant when I step onto that bench.
Thank you so much. And LJ, last but certainly not least, if viewers remember only one thing from tonight's discussion, what would you want that message to be, and why should they entrust you with this responsibility?
Not only am I the most qualified in the race and the only one with federal experience, it is evident by my work and my ethic that, look, no one else in the race knows this community the way I do. I am the only person who qualified by petition, and that is because I am of the community, for the community, and by this community. I'm the 4th of 6 generations, and I feel like you cannot serve the people if you don't love the people, and it's clear that I love the people. I have run for this seat before. I was not successful, and I work in season and out of season for the love of people. So I say, look, LJ stands for love and joy, but most importantly, it stands for liberty and justice. And I would hope that the people will allow me the opportunity to earn their vote and represent them in the annals of Congress, in the United States House of Representatives, and for the 4th Congressional District. And as I always say, for a better day, vote LJ Holloway. They can find me at hollowayforcongress.com. That's HOLLOWAYFORcongress.com. And you can find me on all socials, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, or Blue Sky.
Thank you. And one thing I have to give you all an opportunity to say, because this is a Dr. Kane thing, but I'm going to take one for the team and say, it's obvious where my allegiance lies. Last week we had some Rattler on, but so what Ms. Shelton, you are, oh, there you go. Okay, I got you.
Be confused.
Octavius, what about
yes,
you? What?
As far as my allegiances?
Yeah.
My allegiance is threefold. I'm a proud graduate of Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. That is one. I'm also a proud graduate of University of Florida Law School, 2002. That is 2. Go Gators. And my baby girls, Olivia and Madison, both went to FAMU. So I thought it not robbery to join the JRA League FAMU Alumni Association. So I give my money and my time and my mentoring abilities to FAMU, future Rattlers and graduating Rattlers, actually, as well.
Thank you. And LJ, what about you?
Well, mine is, my love first and foremost is to historically Black colleges and universities. I'm a very proud product of historically Black colleges and universities. I'm a fourth generation college graduate, and I'm a descendant of Rattlers. My grandparents went to FAMC, as they would say. Yes, my grandparents went to FAMC. And we'll tell you when it was normal. Notwithstanding any of that, I went to Howard University and graduated from Edward Waters University, and it was college back then. And of course, I earned my law degree from the University of Florida College of Law in 1997. And I also matriculated at Harvard in the School of Master of Public Health, where I studied epidemiology and biostatistics.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much.
Oh, wait, hold on. Before you go any further, I just want to make sure people understand that I did go to FAM. They gave me my start. I then also I'm a Morehouse graduate.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. All right.
Medical school, first out.
Okay.
First class out. But I did do a residency and was chief resident at University of Florida. And
Okay.
I'm not putting down UF. It gave me my opportunity as well. But I'm a Rattler first.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you to all. Dr. Kane, what are your final thoughts as we close the podcast for the evening?
I have thoroughly enjoyed our guests this evening. I think they did an excellent job presenting themselves. We had other people that really wanted to come on the program, and we've had, it was just, the program is too short to have as many people that wanted to come on. So it was kind of first come, first serve. However, behind the scenes guy has agreed that if we can get more people for tomorrow to do another show, if Ms. Turner, if you're able to participate, that we will see about bringing those individuals on.
Thank you. That sounds like he put me on the spot. So if I don't do it, then I'm to blame, right?
You're to blame, but the show not gonna happen.
That's what they taught you at these HBCUs university.
Go Gators. As we conclude tonight's discussion, I want to sincerely thank each of our candidates for joining us and for sharing their backgrounds, perspectives, and vision for public service. Running for office requires a significant commitment, and we appreciate their willingness to engage in meaningful dialogue with our audience. I also want to thank our viewers for spending this time with us. Democracy is strongest when citizens are informed, engaged, and committed to participating in the electoral process. Whether this is your first election or your 50th, I encourage you to take the next step. Learn more about every candidate on your ballot. Verify the facts. Ask thoughtful questions and vote. Don't believe all the things that you get in the mail, those mailers. And at Pause for the Truth, we are committed to creating space for respectful conversations that educate, empower, and strengthen our communities. We believe that informed voters help build healthier, safer, and more resilient communities for everyone. On behalf of my co-host, Dr. Rogers Kane, our technology director, Tyrone Jackson, and the entire Pause for the Truth team, thank you for joining us this evening. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, be kind to one another.
Be kind to one another.
Climate. And remember that every voice matters and every vote counts. Good evening.
We appreciate you spending time with us on Pause for the Truth. Ms. Jocelyn Turner and Dr. Rogers Kane are grateful for your support. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, catch us live on Twitch, and most importantly, subscribe on YouTube. A big shout out to Tyrone Jackson at Call Tyrone IT Services for keeping us connected. Join us every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more enlightening discussions. Thanks, and see you next week.